Amazing hospital birth exposed. Billionaire's choice turns into life-changing emergency. Doctors battle with chaos. It was a morning like no other at St. Samuel's Hospital. Nurses hurried past, nurses chatting excitedly about the Sinclair family's arrival. The news buzzed with anticipation. Harper Sinclair, the billionaire heiress, was about to deliver a child that was destined to be in the spotlight. Cameras gathered outside, their lenses eager to capture the gilded moment, while the faint sounds of the beeping monitors and the hurried footsteps of medical staff filled the air. Jenna stood at the entrance of the labor and delivery unit, her heart pounding both with excitement and a deeper sense of responsibility. She had always dreamed of this moment, a chance to make a difference, to prove that beneath the uniforms doctors and nurses were the lifeblood of the community, not just the rich and powerful. As she prepared for her shift, reminders of her upbringing floated through her mind, her parents' unwavering belief that hard work and kindness mattered above anything else. This birth was her moment, yet little did she know that within minutes, it would transform into a battle for resilience and life. Inside the delivery room, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Jenna sensed it almost immediately, the tension, the urgency, the fidgeting of the staff. Complications arose mid-labor, and chaos erupted. The joyous excitement twisted into panic as alarms blared, and everyone rushed to respond. The stress peeled layers off the raw excitement, revealing a dire reality that status could not change. Suddenly, Harper Sinclair's demands for special privileges echoed through the room, clashing against the panic unfolding. "Do something! My baby must be safe!" Her voice was shrill, a reminder that despite their wealth, parents were brought to their knees in fear for their child's life. Jenna's chest tightened. This wasn't just about Harper. It was about every patient she had cared for, about the people back in her small town who had fought struggle after struggle, fighting against the system. It was a deeply personal battle for Jenna, one that called to mind the tales of her family's sacrifices. Outside the walls of the sanctuary where life was brought forth, her community had ingrained in her that every life mattered equally. She remembered her father's weathered hands, constantly working to rebuild. That image ignited a flame within her. As time ticked by dangerously, Jenna rallied her colleagues. "We can do this. Let's think outside the box. Innovate." The room crackled with newfound energy. Hope surged. Just as Jenna stepped up to take charge, however, Harper's fearful gaze, heavy with doubt about the choices ahead, collided with hers. Can we trust this? This is not just about wealth, Jenna thought, heart racing. Indeed. Who was really in control here? The air thickened as the reality of pride and privilege merged with vulnerability, leaving everyone breathless. That moment hung in the air like a fragile leaf about to fall. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna's determination surged as she grasped the weight of her purpose. She envisioned her community's strength, their stories radiating resilience. This could redefine her career and shake the facade of privilege surrounding the Sinclairs. The heartbeat of a family was hanging in the balance, and tonight, it would echo with choices that could shatter glass ceilings and challenge the disparity often hidden behind wealth. Would Jenna save both Harper and her child, transforming not just lives, but perspectives? She held her breath. The battle was just beginning, and hope urged her to fight fiercely. Would this moment shift everything, even if only in spirit? The tension in the delivery room escalated as everyone focused on the task at hand. Jenna quickly assigned roles, orchestrating the flurry of medical expertise around her. The staff fell into a rhythm, their adrenaline pumping, their eyes locked onto their responsibilities. In the chaos, Jenna felt an unexpected calm wash over her. "Let's keep her breathing steady," she instructed, moving closer to Harper. The expectant mother's face was a mix of fear and determination, her brows knitted tight against the pressure of the moment. "You can do this, Harper. Focus on the heartbeat. It's strong. Your baby needs you to be strong too." The monitor beeped steadily, a reassuring sound amidst the tempest swirling around them. Every staff member was acutely aware that, despite the wealth in the room, life held no guarantees. Jenna's mind whirled. She could hear the distant echoes of her mother reminding her of their roots, of how every hardship revealed a stronger spirit. "Get the ultrasound equipment in here," called out one of the doctors. "I need a clear view of the baby." The urgency in his voice cut through the room, compelling everyone to move faster. As the technician wheeled in the monitor, Jenna caught a glimpse of Harper's face. A mix of hope and despair clashed within her eyes. "Is something wrong?" Harper's voice trembled, inches from breaking. Jenna reached out, reassuring her with a gentle squeeze of her hand. "We're doing everything we can, just hold on," she said, her own heart racing in rhythm with the medical machines that beeped overhead. Moments stretched into what felt like eternity as Jenna watched the screen fill with images. They sought the truth hidden behind those swirling colors and shapes, the very essence of life flickering in and out of focus. "There," the doctor exclaimed, pointing at the screen. "There's the baby's head." As the team worked seamlessly, Jenna felt a fierce determination blossom within her. This was not about status, it was about life. In the depths of fear, duty wrapped her in its embrace. Every second brought them closer to clarity, to hope. She exchanged purposeful glances with her colleagues, silently urging them to stay steady. Outside the room, cameras were still clicking, voices murmuring in anticipation. Jenna could almost sense the online audience waiting, betting on the inevitable haughty outcome. But here, in this small slice of the world, their speculation meant nothing. "Keep pushing, Harper," Jenna called out, her voice a steady anchor in the rising tide of anxiety. Harper gripped the edges of the bed, her knuckles white, determination etched into her features. "It hurts. I can't." "You can," Jenna insisted, leaning in closer, locking eyes with her. "Your strength is incredible. You're a warrior bringing a new life into the world. Don't let fear take that away from you." At that moment, the room exploded into a symphony of sounds. A cry broke free, cutting through the tension like a burst of sunlight. The staff erupted into cheers as the doctor lifted a squirming bundle into the air. The relief flooded the room, washing over everyone like a wave. Harper's eyes widened as she caught sight of her baby, tears of joy cascading down her cheeks. In that instant, the weight of privilege shifted. Both mother and child were draped in vulnerability, surrounded by people who understood the fragility of life. But in the aftermath of joy, Jenna felt a glimmer of unease. She glanced at the monitors, and for a brief moment, the steady beeping wavered. Something didn't feel right. "Is everything okay?" Jenna whispered, but her mind churned with concern. Was this battle truly over? Or was it just beginning? As she moved to check the readings, Harper's gaze shifted. "What now?" she questioned, an edge creeping back into her voice. Jenna steeled herself for what lay ahead. In that moment she realized that the fight wasn't just for a life, it was for a future. Would they triumph together, or would the unexpected twist threaten everything they had just fought for? As the celebratory atmosphere filled the delivery room, an unsettling silence from the monitors enveloped Jenna. She approached the equipment, each beep vibrating with an urgency that sent pricks of anxiety through her core. Harper cradled her newborn against her chest, her eyes wide with maternal awe, yet Jenna couldn't shake the doubts clawing at her mind. "Is everything all right?" Jenna repeated, her voice barely above a whisper, needing to hear some assurance, even if it was just for her own sake. The doctor closest to the monitor grimaced, fiddling with the settings. "The baby's heart rate isn't stabilizing as we'd like," he stated, his brow furrowing in an all-too-familiar way. "We need to assess the situation before we celebrate too much." A palpable tension crept back into the room. What had been a moment of sheer joy now morphed into a cloud of concern. The staff members around them shifted, their elation faltering as they pulled back into their professional demeanor. The noise of the hospital, once a comforting hum, now seemed sharp and jarring. Jenna took a step closer to Harper, who had looked down at her baby, bliss swiftly replaced by worry. Harper, listen to me, she said, forcing her voice to remain steady. Your strength got us this far. We're still fighting together. But the quiver in her own voice betrayed her. She could see the pain in Harper's eyes, a mother's instinct picking up on something amiss. What's happening? Harper asked, her words full of desperate anticipation. The doctor responded, We need to monitor closely and prepare for any possible complications. Just in case, we might have to move to the NICU. NICU? Harper whispered, her face paling. She glanced from the doctor to Jenna, searching for a lifeline in the tide of fear threatening to pull her down. Jenna wrapped her arms around Harper's shoulder, grounding her amid the storm. You've done so much already, you're not alone. We'll make sure you and your baby are safe. Her words felt insufficient against the enormity of the situation, but she willed every ounce of conviction into them, hoping to be the bastion of strength her friend needed. As if sensing the tension, the baby began to squirm, whimpering softly. Jenna felt a familiar ache of protectiveness, her heart aching for both mother and child. Let's get a pediatric team in here, called one of the doctors. We need specialists on standby. The urgency infused the room with an unsettling energy, sending nurses scurrying. Jenna's heart raced as she observed them working, sharp breaths cutting through the stillness like knives. She wished she could take the fear away, shield Harper from the harsh reality creeping in. Jenna glanced at the monitors again, dread pooling in her stomach as she fought off the shadows of worry clawing at her thoughts. The doctors exchanged worried looks, their professionalism tinged with a hint of uncertainty. A tangle of emotions swirling just below the surface. Harper's hand tightened around her newborn instinctively, protectively, as if she could shield her child from whatever storm brewed nearby. What if? The words hung in the air, heavy and ominous. Jenna shook her head vigorously. Don't think like that. We're going to focus on the moment. Your baby needs you to be strong. But even she wasn't sure how to muster that strength. The weight of the situation pressed down on her, and she could feel the collective breath held by everyone in the room, suspended in anxious anticipation. Minutes trickled by like sand through an hourglass. Each second dragged, and Jenna knew they were caught on the knife's edge of hope and fear, the outcome uncertain. In this defining space, where life hung delicately in balance, Jenna wondered, how far would they go to fight for their future? The atmosphere shifted, a thick veil of anxiety that pressed against Jenna like the weight of the world. The heart monitor beeped angrily, an unsteady rhythm that matched the frantic pace of her thoughts. She refused to let despair take hold. Her focus remained on Harper, whose youthful glow had faded, replaced with a blend of fear and uncertainty. As a new team of doctors entered, their presence brought a sense of urgency that jolted everyone into action. The head pediatrician, tall and composed, approached with a reassuring smile, but his eyes betrayed the seriousness of the situation. We're going to take great care of your baby, he said to Harper, kneeling beside her, his tone calm yet firm. We'll do everything we can. Harper's breath hitched as she braced herself for what came next. Jenna felt helpless, standing by as professional hands took over. She squeezed Harper's shoulder, offering silent support, but inside, she was a tempest of fierce emotions. Can I hold her? Harper's voice wavered like a thread about to snap. Just for a moment, the nurse replied gently, glancing at the monitors one more time before allowing Harper to cradle her child. As the baby settled in her grasp, a soft whimper broke through, stirring a mixture of hope and dread. See that? She's already got spirit, Jenna whispered, leaning in closer to see the fragile face of the newborn, eyes still closed but scrunched in the most adorable manner. The baby was alive. That was the only mantra saving her from spiraling into despair, but the moment was short-lived. The pediatrician was quick to assess the situation, his movements deliberate. We're going to need to take her for some tests. We can't risk waiting any longer, he said, his gaze flicking to the monitors as a sharp beep filled the silence. Jenna's heart sank. The baby? Taken away? Panic rose, but she inhaled sharply, regrouping. You're not leaving her side, Jenna assured Harper, who wore an expression of disbelief, like a dam ready to break. As the nurses prepared the baby for transport, Jenna made eye contact with Harper, searching for a spark of resolve. "You are her rock, Harper. She needs you to keep fighting," Jenna urged, her own voice quivering with the intensity of her emotions. Glimmers of determination began to surface in Harper's eyes. "You're right," she said, her voice steadier than before. "We can get through this." The baby was whisked away, the bustle of nurses fading down the corridor, taking a piece of Jenna's heart with them. The delivery room felt emptier, a cavern of waiting and uncertainty. She could feel Harper's tension radiating like heat waves. They were now left in a limbo, each tick of the clock echoing louder than the last. The pediatrician returned not long after, his face a mask of professionalism. "We're starting tests, but it's early days. The heart rate is concerning, but we're doing all we can." Can we see her?" Harper's voice was barely a whisper, the hope laced with fear. "Yes. Once she's stabilized, we'll notify you immediately," the doctor replied, the gravity of his words binding Jenna and Harper together in shared agony. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Each second hovered like a fragile thread, ready to snap. Jenna's fingers grazed the monitor, watching those rhythmic lines, her heart racing with each blip, praying they would continue. Finally, when the door swung open, it felt like a surge of electricity. Jenna's breath caught as the nurse re-entered, a soft smile breaking through her tense expression. "She's stable for now. You can both come and meet her." Harper was on her feet, the raw determination lighting her face. With Jenna right beside her, they followed the nurse, eager yet terrified. What would they find? Would everything be okay? As they approached the NICU, Jenna's heart hammered in her chest. The neon lights glared inside, revealing a world full of tiny lives fighting for hope. What if their baby was the one in the stronger fight, and the battle was just beginning? The door opened wider, revealing breath-stealing moments that would define their future. They stepped over the threshold into a realm of miracles and uncertainty. Would their love be enough to guide them through? The answer awaited, teetering on the brink of a fragile balance. The room was stark, filled with the gentle sounds of beeping machines mixed with the faintest cries from other little ones. Jenna's heart raced as she stepped inside, the sterile scent of the NICU mingling with anxiety. The sight of tiny incubators lined against the walls sent a wave of fear coursing through her. She glanced at Harper, whose face reflected a mix of hope and panic, both apprehensive and eager to see their baby. "Where is she?" "Oh my God, where is she?" Harper whispered, scanning the room as if somehow she'd magically make her child appear. "Let's just follow the nurse," Jenna encouraged softly, gripping her hand for reassurance. Each step felt heavy, weighted by the enormity of the moment. They approached a cluster of staff attending to a smaller-than-life figure swaddled in warmth and technology. "Here she is," the nurse said, her tone tender as she gestured toward one of the incubators. Jenna and Harper leaned closer. There she was, their baby, so small yet filled with an undeniable spirit, her tiny chest rising and falling steadily, but so achingly fragile. "That's our girl," Harper's voice cracked, emotion spilling over. Tears brimmed in her eyes. "Yes, that's her," Jenna confirmed, feeling the warmth of a smile forced between her own worry and hope. She took a deep breath, unable to look away from the peaceful face of their daughter. A mix of wires and monitors surrounded her, a cocoon of life support that felt both comforting and terrifying. A doctor approached, clipboard in hand, and Jenna's heart dropped slightly, sensing the urgency in his stride. "I'm Dr. Lee. She's stable at the moment, but we're closely monitoring her vitals. There are some anomalies we need to discuss," he said, his eyes scanning the tiny form before them. "What anomalies?" Harper interjected, her voice a blend of fierceness and panic. Dr. Lee softened his tone. "Her heart rate is irregular, and we detected some breathing difficulties post-delivery. We'll have a better understanding once she's had more tests, but we want you to know it's okay to feel scared. You're not alone in this." Jenna felt Harper's hand tighten around hers. The words of reassurance were meant to comfort, but the undertones of uncertainty made her stomach churn. They had just begun this journey into motherhood, and now it was marred with questions. Would their baby be okay? What if... Harper hesitated, her voice breaking. What if she needs more than we can give her? Jenna turned, searching Harper's eyes, willing her to see the truth. She's strong, Harper. Look at her. She's already fighting, she said, pointing to the baby's tiny fingers that were instinctively wrapping around the probe attached to her side. The nurse gently adjusted the settings on the monitor, bringing a hint of calm to the chaotic flickering in Jenna's mind. We'll be with her every step of the way. Right now, your support means everything. With every passing moment, the gravity of their reality seeped deeper into Jenna's skin. It was time to embrace the unknown. The tiny heartbeat had transformed into a pulsing mantra in the background, reminding them that with every chance taken, there was a world of hope waiting. Suddenly, the alarms began to ring, their sharp sounds cutting through the connection they were trying so hard to form. Jenna's heart jumped into her throat. What's happening? Stay calm, the doctor urged while others rushed to the incubator. Fear clawed at Jenna's chest as she held on tightly to Harper. Everything they feared was spiraling right before their eyes. Would they ever get a moment just to breathe? As chaos erupted, a singular thought pierced through the commotion. How could they balance their love and their fears, especially when the fight had only just begun? Harper's gaze met Jenna's, raw and vulnerable. I'm so scared. What if... Then the world shifted again. What was to come next would test everything they thought they knew about love, strength, and the power of hope. How do we face tomorrow? Jenna whispered, her heart racing under the weight of uncertainty. In that moment, they had to choose, to embrace the unknown or step back into fear. The answer laid before them, but it wouldn't come easy. It was the moment that would forever alter the trajectory of their lives. Would they find the strength to continue? The alarms blared, a cacophony of sound reverberating off the sterile walls as nurses rushed in, scrambling into action. Jenna felt her heart pound against her chest, a wild rhythm echoing her fears. She and Harper stood frozen, caught in a whirlwind of chaos as caregivers swarmed around their daughter's incubator. What are they doing? Harper's eyes were wide, searching for answers that seemed to slip further away with each frantic movement. Jenna squeezed her hand tighter, both of them needing the anchor of connection amid the storm. They're her lifeline right now, Jenna managed to say, trying to sound steady despite the turmoil. She watched as a nurse spoke to the doctor, pointing to the monitor that highlighted the blips of their daughter's heartbeat. Every flicker sent a jolt through Jenna, as if she could feel the pressure of each stress-filled second. Dr. Lee moved with purpose, issuing commands in quick, clipped tones that only heightened Jenna's anxiety. It felt surreal, being pushed to the edge of fear and despair when they had just glimpsed a future filled with hope. The doctor caught their eyes briefly and nodded, firm yet reassuring. Her heart rate is fluctuating. We're adjusting her support, but it's crucial you remain calm. She needs you both. In that moment, Jenna felt a flicker of something unlike the crushing dread, determination. She looked at Harper, whose breath was coming in shallow bursts. We can't let fear take over. She needs us to be strong. Harper's gaze locked onto Jenna's, the tears spilling over now unchecked. What if we aren't strong enough? Jenna took a deep breath, tightening her grip. We have to believe we can be. She's fighting. We need to fight for her too. Minutes stretched into what felt like lifetimes, each second punctuated by beeps and murmurs, the sterile sounds wrapping around them. The storm of emotions swirling within Jenna began to solidify into a single thought. They were in this together, come what may. A wave of quiet washed over the room as the alarms began to subside. Jenna could feel the tension shift, the nurses moving with a newfound focus as the machine's beeping stabilized. There was a moment of realization that amidst all the fear, their daughter's spirit was undeniably alive, supported by the love surrounding her. See? Jenna said, her voice barely above a whisper. She's still here. We are still here. Hope began to bloom inside her, fragile yet fierce. She stepped a little closer to the incubator, feeling as though if she could just reach out and touch her daughter, she could share that strength. You're doing so well, baby girl, Jenna murmured, knowing somehow that those words mattered. Harper slipped her arm around Jenna's waist, finding comfort in their proximity. "What do we do now?" she asked, the tremor still evident in her voice. "The doctors will keep monitoring her," Jenna replied, looking up to see Dr. Lee immersed in discussion with two other staff. "We'll take it one moment at a time. That's all we can do." They watched as the medical team continued their work, and Jenna felt a tentative peace settle over her heart. In the midst of uncertainty, there was a sense of community. Their fight, now woven into something larger, an unbreakable bond of hope under the harsh fluorescent lights of the NICU. But just as quickly, a soft voice broke their moment. "We need to prepare you for the next steps." It was a different nurse, a calm presence with a gentle touch. "It's going to be a long road, and there may be tough decisions ahead." Jenna's heart sank momentarily, the weight of it pressing down like a heavy fog. What decisions? Their baby had just arrived, and already they were talking about next steps, as if navigating the heart of uncertainty was a matter of procedure. "What does that mean?" Harper's voice quivered, the strength that had momentarily lit her face now shadowed by worry. The nurse offered a soft, understanding smile. "We need to discuss potential complications. It's important for you both to understand what you are up against for her care." Jenna and Harper exchanged wary glances, the undercurrents of fear bubbling to the surface again. What lay ahead? Would they find the courage to navigate those choices, or would uncertainty threaten to pull them apart? In that moment, Jenna realized they were standing at the crossing of love and fear. But even as new questions arose, one thing was clear. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. "Okay," Jenna said softly, determination rising with each heartbeat. "Talk to us. We'll figure this out." But as she said it, she couldn't shake the shudder of uncertainty that ran through her. Would they truly have the strength to face whatever tomorrow brought? The room, once filled with chaos, now pulsed with an oppressive silence that weighed heavily on Jenna and Harper. The nurse's calm demeanor stood in stark contrast to the whirlwind of thoughts clouding their minds. Sweat trickled down Jenna's back as the gravity of their situation sank in. Each word from the nurse felt like a pebble dropped into a vast, deep well, the echo delayed, but the impact undeniable. "We're here for you," the nurse said, her voice steady. "I know this is overwhelming, but I promise, we'll guide you through each step." Harper took a sharp breath, her eyes darting around the room, desperately searching for something concrete to hold on to. "What kind of complications?" she asked, her voice trembling. There was a slight quiver that Jenna recognized as her partner trying to maintain control. "The most common ones in preemies like your daughter include respiratory issues, infections, and neurological concerns," the nurse explained, her tone soothing yet direct. "But we're here to monitor her closely. Early intervention is key." Jenna felt her heart racing again, this time not from chaos but fear. The words, infections and neurological concerns echoed in her mind like sirens. They hadn't prepared for this. They had come ready to welcome their baby with love and warmth, yet here they were, on the front lines of a battle they didn't see coming. "Dr. Lee will come and talk to you about her condition in detail, and we can answer any questions you may have," the nurse continued. "It's important for you to feel informed and involved in the decision-making process. We're a team, that's essential." Team. The word felt foreign yet familiar. Jenna glanced at Harper, their eyes meeting with a shared understanding. They had been partners in everything, life, love, and now, this. They were navigating uncharted waters together, and perhaps that solidarity would help anchor them. Can we touch her?" Harper asked, voice barely above a whisper, filled with raw hope. The nurse nodded. "Yes. Just be gentle. You can put your fingers through the incubator openings. She can feel your presence." A surge of warmth flooded Jenna's heart. There was something tangible, a thread of connection they could weave even in this sterile space. She stepped closer, her breath catching as she reached out. Harper joined her, their fingers brushing against the cool glass. It felt electrifying, like being shocked awake from a dream. With careful hands, they touched the delicate blanket enwrapping their tiny girl. Cold, yet alive. A flicker of warmth surged where their fingers made contact. "Hey there, sweet girl," Jenna whispered, fighting back tears. "We're right here. You're not alone." Tears slipped down Harper's cheeks, and Jenna could see the mixture of fear and love reflected in her partner's eyes. "We love you," Harper added, her voice cracking. "So much." In that moment of suspended time, the beeping monitors faded into the background. The rhythm of hope began to overtake panic. Their daughter was fighting, and that was enough to steel Jenna's resolve. She and Harper would hold on to every thread of hope they could find. Dr. Lee soon entered the room, adjusting his glasses with those calm, practiced hands that exuded reassurance. "I know this is a lot to take in," he began, his voice steady and professional. "I'd like to discuss her current condition and our next steps." The gravity of his tone pulled Jenna from her momentary peace. She held her breath, waiting for the impending wave of uncertainty. As they gathered around in a tight circle, Jenna could feel the walls of her heart rising and falling with each word. There were so many layers to unravel, so many decisions ahead. Would they be able to hold their family together through this storm? "Remember, no matter what happens, you're not facing it alone," Dr. Lee stated firmly, his eyes traveling between Jenna and Harper. But as those words hung heavy in the air, Jenna felt a familiar pang of dread. The storm was far from over. It had only just begun. How much strength would it take to navigate through the decisions that lay ahead? Jenna clutched Harper's hand tightly, the pulse of determination still pulsing through her veins. "We can do this," she whispered, though she could feel uncertainty winding through her thoughts again, tightening its grip. But would they be enough? Would love truly be the anchor they needed to weather the trials ahead? Dr. Lee wasted no time in diving into the details of their daughter's condition. "Your baby was born at 28 weeks. This means she's considered extremely premature," he began, his tone shifting from calm to clinical. "We're currently monitoring her for respiratory distress syndrome, which is common due to underdeveloped lungs." He pointed to the monitor, detailing the numbers that danced across the screen, a jumble of colors and beeps that felt far too foreign to Jenna and Harper. Jenna barely registered it, the words twisted around her like a heavy fog. She summoned a breath, reminding herself to stay focused. Around them, the machinery buzzed incessantly, a mechanical heartbeat alongside her daughter's fragile one. What do we do?" she stammered, desperate for clarity in an ocean of confusion. "Stay involved," Dr. Lee replied, looking earnest. "You can be present for her as much as possible. Talk to her, read to her, sing. Touch can be very therapeutic, even through the incubator." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, and in that gesture, Jenna felt a flicker of comfort. Harper squeezed Jenna's hand tighter. "And if things worsen?" The words hung in the air like a lit fuse. The doctor inhaled deeply. "There are risks. Certain complications could lead to long-term issues or worsen her condition. But it's important to remember that every baby is different, and we have advanced care options that can help her." Each word felt like a double-edged sword. They had entered this world with dreams of laughter and first steps, yet here they were, encased in a reality filled with uncertainty and fear. "Can you promise us? Can you assure us she will be okay?" Harper's voice trembled as she leaned forward, eyes sparkling with unshed tears. "I can't promise anything," Dr. Lee replied. "But I can promise that we are giving her the best care possible. It's a day-to-day journey." In Jenna's mind, questions swirled. Would they have to brace for heartbreak? Or could hope triumph against the odds? Despite the weight pressing on her chest, she nudged forward, willing to confront whatever came their way. "We'll be here every step of the journey, whatever it takes," Jenna declared, a new steel in her voice. Harper turned to her, her eyes reflecting both fear and admiration. "Together," she said softly, squeezing Jenna's hand. The nurse returned with a small wash of warmth, breaking the tension. "Would you like to take a moment with her? I can help you with positioning." Jenna nodded, her heart racing with a mix of longing and trepidation. Slowly they approached the incubator, their fingers trembling as they slipped through the openings. As they touched their baby's tiny hand, Jenna felt something shift in her core. an unbreakable bond forged by love. Her daughter's hand was smaller than she could ever have imagined, yet within that little grip was a power that surged through Jenna's veins. "Look at her tiny fingers," Harper whispered, half laughing through her tears. "She's perfect." The moment enveloped them, a cocoon of tenderness amidst the storm swirling outside. It was a tiny spark amidst the uncertainty, radiating warmth like the first light of dawn promising a new day. Suddenly, the alarms began to sound, a high-pitched beep slicing through their fragile calm. Panic shot through Jenna's system like ice water. "What does that mean?" she cried, the fear crashing hard against her heart. Dr. Lee rushed back in, a look of calm urgency in his eyes. "Stay with her. We need to assess what's going on." Jenna and Harper clung to each other, their hearts pounding in synchronized fear. Every ounce of determination they had fought to build began to crumble. "Will she be okay?" Harper's voice was barely a whisper, hope flickering like a fragile flame. As the medical staff surrounded the incubator, Jenna's breaths came in shallow gasps. Would they be strong enough to face whatever came next? Or would fear drown them in uncertainty? The room might be filled with chaos, but they had to believe. Hope had to be their anchor. As they watched helplessly, waiting for news that could change everything, Jenna's thoughts raced. Was their love enough to overcome the unthinkable? With every second that ticked on, the storm raged around them, threatening to sweep away the fragile peace they had just found. The room was a whirlwind. Nurses glided in and out like shadows, every face tight with focus. Jenna and Harper stood frozen, their hands intertwined, eyes fixed on the incubator. Every beep of the monitors was a reminder of the fragility of their daughter's existence. Each sound echoed in Jenna's ears, a relentless soundtrack to their growing dread. Dr. Lee moved with practiced precision, relaying commands as he monitored the infant's vital signs. Jenna felt the weight of his authority. It was reassuring and terrifying all at once. He turned to them, urgency in his eyes. "She's showing signs of increased respiratory distress. We need to stabilize her, but I want you both to talk to her. Let her hear your voices." Harper's voice wavered. Okay. What do we say?" "Just speak from your heart," Dr. Lee replied gently, as he gestured for them to lean closer. Jenna leaned down, her lips only inches away from the incubator's glass. She felt the heat of the lights above, and the coolness of the glass separating her from her daughter. "Hi, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. "It's Mommy. We're right here. You're so strong. Just hold on for us, okay?" Harper stepped forward, her hand brushing against Jenna's. "You're so brave. We're fighting for you. We love you so much," she added, her words laced with unwavering love, despite the trembling in her voice. As weak as the baby looked, Jenna could see her tiny chest rising and falling, each breath a fragile victory. They took turns speaking, words tumbling from their hearts, their shared love enveloping the little one even amidst the chaos. "Look at how tiny you are," Jenna said, trying to inject a note of hope into the heaviness in her chest. "We can't wait to bring you home. I promise it will be full of hugs and kisses." Suddenly, the alarms quieted. The staff focused intently on their daughter, and Jenna dared to hope. Had they made a difference? Jenna's eyes locked onto Dr. Lee's. For a brief moment, she wanted to see encouragement in his gaze, but only found concentration. Will she be okay? The question slipped out before Jenna could hold it back. Dr. Lee hesitated. "We're doing everything we can. You've given her strength just by being here. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint." Reality crashed around them like waves buffeting a rocky shore. Days would turn into weeks, filled with both solemn moments and rays of hopeful light. This crisis was just the beginning of something neither of them could fully grasp yet. Jenna swallowed hard, tears pooling in her eyes. "But we're not ready for a marathon. We just want her safe." "I know." Harper's voice was a whisper now, breaking under the weight of her fears. I don't want to lose her. I can't." The world outside the incubator felt distant, like murmurings of a life that was still moving on without them. Friends and family were waiting for news. But all Jenna and Harper could focus on was this agonizing moment. This precious life. This little girl fighting to breathe. The next hour felt both eternal and fleeting. Each second stretched painfully, filled with conversation and laughter from their hearts that mingled with a gnawing anxiety, as they tried to anchor themselves to the life they dreamed of and the reality that unfolded before them. Then, after what seemed like ages, one nurse turned to them with a gentler expression. "Her oxygen levels are stabilizing. We've adjusted the settings in the incubator. It's too early to celebrate, but this is a good sign." Jenna's breath hitched in her throat, and she grabbed Harper's hand tighter, as if the tiny victory was woven into their very connection. "Does that mean she's going to be okay?" Jenna asked again, her voice cracking slightly. The nurse smiled softly, understanding the weight of the moment. "It means she's fighting, and so should you." As they stood there, hope slowly creeping in, Jenna's heart soared in a way it hadn't before. Maybe, just maybe, they could help guide her through. But just then, a loud crash echoed from outside the room, pulling their attention. A commotion erupted, voices raised in urgency. What could possibly be happening now? With their hearts racing anew, Jenna and Harper exchanged glances. The storm outside was relentless, and it felt as if their world was bracing for yet another blow. How much more could they endure before the tides turned? The din outside the room became a whirlwind, pulling Jenna and Harper from their fragile moment of hope. Nurses rushed past them, urgency etched on their faces, and the buzz of concern hung thick in the air. Jenna's heart raced, pulsing with worry for their daughter, but also a deep-seated fear about the chaos unfolding beyond the NICU's controlled environment. "What's going on?" Harper's voice trembled, glancing towards the door as if it were a threat. "Is something wrong?" "I don't know," Jenna whispered, straining to hear the commotion. But the sounds were overwhelming, echoing through her mind, like the alarms that had pierced their previous moment of peace. She tightened her grip on Harper's hand, instinctively anchoring them both amidst the uncertainty. They turned back to the incubator, though their hearts felt tethered to what lay beyond. The monitor beeped steadily for their daughter, a delicate sound that offered reassurance, but Jenna's heart was torn in two. One part hopeful, the other suffocated by anxiety. They needed stability, not only for the baby but for themselves too. Suddenly, the door burst open, and Dr. Lee strode in, a mixture of determination and concern on his features. "We're facing unexpected complications in another unit," he announced, urgency threading through his voice. "But I want you to know we have a full team dedicated to your daughter. She's stable right now." "Stable," Jenna echoed, her breath hitching in her throat as she registered the lack of celebratory relief. It was a fog of worry, a constant reminder that stable in a NICU was a temporary state. "That's good, right?" "It is, but the situation outside needs our attention," he said, his gaze affectionate but firm. "I can assure you we will monitor her closely. You should take care of yourselves too. I recommend taking breaks." Harper shook her head, her eyes fierce with determination. "No, we can't leave her side. We will support her through this, no matter what else is going on." "I agree," Jenna quickly added, her heart braiding into Harper's resolve. "She needs us to be here, for her." Dr. Lee assessed them, seeing the fire beneath the surface of their fear. "I understand your instincts as parents, but it's important to balance that with self-care. You'll need your energy. This is a marathon, remember?" As he spoke, a sense of pressure swirled in the air, squeezing Jenna's chest tighter. "We can manage. We have to be here," she asserted, her voice steadying with each word. They had survived the initial chaos, and now they stood in the heart of unyielding will. Dr. Lee nodded slowly, the corners of his mouth teasing a smile. "Okay, I admire your strength. But promise me you'll at least look after yourselves in the process." Just then, the nurse from earlier returned, the softness in her eyes contrasting the sharp urgency around them. "The team is prepared to take control of the situation outside. You're safe here." Jenna felt a flicker of gratitude. Perhaps safety could be found in the sheer determination blooming within her newfound family. "Thank you." Her voice softened as she glanced around the room filled with capable staff. We appreciate everything you're doing." After a moment, the nurse's compassion brightened the dimness of uncertainty. "We're all in this together. Remember that." As the staff continued to monitor their daughter, Jenna and Harper leaned closer to the incubator, their hearts illuminated by the presence of that tiny human fighting for life. "Look at her. She's fighting her own battle," Jenna said softly, inclining her head toward their daughter. "She's fighting because we're here. Because we're her family," Harper replied, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. Yet there was joy in the glimmer of her eyes. "This little one is a warrior, and so are we." In that moment of acknowledging their strength, the fears outside faded into a distant hum. They were united in purpose, ready to face whatever awaited them, buoyed by the collective heartbeat of love and commitment that thrummed through them. The alarms that had once felt like curses now morphed into a cadence of hope, a reminder that every sound in the NICU was a battle cry. They were in the fight together. "Tomorrow may be harder," Harper whispered, her voice carrying the weight of truth. "But we will keep fighting. Every day." As Jenna looked into Harper's eyes, she realized the power of those simple words. What mattered most in the face of darkness was that love never faltered. Together they drew a breath, anchoring as one in a bond that had been forged in fire, their hearts a shared rhythm of hope. Yes, the fight was far from over. But this was the beginning of a new life for all of them. And for the first time since their daughter had been born, Jenna felt an undercurrent of joy threading through their uncertainty. They would face it all together, or not at all. No matter the trials ahead, something inside them had already transformed. And as they reached for their daughter's tiny hand, nestled in warmth and care, they whispered, "We're here. Always." Now it was time to embrace the journey ahead and savor the love that gave them strength. In that NICU, under an array of bright lights and machines, they had all they needed: the power of family, boundless love, and unyielding courage. The walls that had once felt overwhelming now felt like a protective fort, harboring their family against the storm. And with every heartbeat in the room, they took the first step of many toward a dawn they would face, together. If you've made it this far, it's time to make your voice heard. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep our community thriving. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformational journey. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.